Hello, everyone. I feel like the intro didn't play for us, so I don't know if it played for anyone else. But
I saw it.
Josh, I'll say, going into this episode, it was like 40 minutes runtime. I was like, they can't possibly close everything up the way that I would like it to be closed up because there was just so much left out there. What did you think? Did you think they locked it up pretty good in those 40 minutes? I thought they tied up a lot of pieces I wanted.
They did, and I don't think you need a season 2 of the Skeleton Crew. Now, depending on the timing, we talked about this during lunch as we were preparing for this show. What does it mean for the kids? Are these going to be characters that continue on in? Do we have an official name? The Mandoverse? Is that the part of Star Wars lore that we're calling it in?
They're calling it the Mandoverse, yeah, because it's post it's post Return of the Jedi, so like that's kind of the era that we're in right now. Well, it should be the Thrawnverse, but it's the Mandoverse apparently. They're whatever.
Yeah, well, that could totally change. No, we found out who the supervisor was. A little.
What did you think?
Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah, so it's HAL 9000 from
it is. Yeah, that's it. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
2001: A Space Odyssey. Yeah.
Yes.
Very much. I mean, like they had to have been thinking about that, right? Like that's had to be the inspiration. What did you think about that reveal?
I think it makes sense. Like you're not going to have some type of pirate. Now it would have been great if we found out what actually happened to this amazing pirate. Maybe they just died of old age. I don't know. Maybe the security droids got
maybe the story was true, right? That they like just killed each other on once they got there. So
yeah, that is a real possibility. We don't know for certain, but I like it. It's the thing that makes the most sense to have this master droid controlling everything. And it's much different from everywhere else in Star Wars. In Star Wars, it is the humans or the other races controlling the droids. This time it's the droids controlling the planet. And it's the humans acting as the workers to continue to be a mint. So much different. And I love on how it played off with Jod, like the supervisor totally buying into the story. Oh, wait, but there's one thing I need to ask you about. And what a great reveal that was, and a great twist. And it really heightened up as far as the conflict in that particular scene, and just, yeah, really carried as far as this entire episode. I thought this last episode was fantastic.
I really enjoyed it. I think the thing that about the supervisor reveal that it's like, I think we all kind of had an idea of like, this is going to be a robot. There's going to be no one up there. There's no man behind the curtain type of thing. We all had that kind of inkling. But what was surprising to me in the reveal was that apparently all the adults knew. Like Fern's mom was not surprised at all that this was a huge droid, right? And she's like, yeah, of course, this thing takes care of us, right?
Right.
Wendell seemed to know also that this is what the supervisor is. It's just automation. And like, I thought that was cool. I thought like the whole time through the series, I really felt like they were going, no one knows what's actually going on here. Everyone actually knew. They knew what was going on, and they're like, no, this is how we stay protected. This is the best way so that our lives are easy, and all we do is mint these coins. Now, I will say, Josh, another piece that caught me by surprise in that moment. So when the supervisor wisely detects that Jod is full of shit and talks about that last transmission. But that last transmission means that this wasn't some lost relic of the Old Republic.
Mm-hmm.
This was known all the way to the end of the Republic. So it's not like Old Republic, High Republic, and then what would be like pre-Empire. Like it only existed in the Old Republic. This is up to pre-Empire. So Palpatine knew about this place, right? And so two things there. One, do you think they just left them alone because they didn't need the mint and all the resources are on the other planets, and that's why all the other planets are destroyed? And then two, if Palps knows, Thrawn knows. And now there's just vaults and vaults full of money with no barrier. Are we going to see Thrawn come here and pick up a few coins?
I think that makes the most sense wherever Thrawn appears next. It may be to continue as far as the story, because you have the Mandalorian and Grogu movie upcoming. Is that going to be this year or is that next year?
That's next year. And like the rumors right now are like, it doesn't seem like there's like the plot doesn't seem like there's that big bad, but we'll see. We'll see what that actually ends up looking like.
It could just be a post-credit scene, much like Thanos. Like, Thrawn is coming, comes out of hyperspace. It would make a lot of sense to me because he's going to need resources to build up his armada. And what better way than to steal a bunch of Republic credits? So I do think Ad Adden, this is not the end of Ad Adden in the Mandoverse storyline. It may not be heavily involved like Mandalore, but we knew Mandalore, just for historical value in Star Wars, held in high regard over multiple Star Wars shows and maybe even an upcoming Star Wars movie as well. I don't think Ad Adden is as important to Star Wars lore as far as his timeline like Mandalore, Chorizy.
Yeah,
I am expecting another revisit.
I'm with you on the revisit, right? And like this, it's not going to be a huge, like, it's the planet itself is not going to be hugely important, but it does set up for what every guy on the planet loves to watch: a heist movie. Right? Like, so like, even if it's just a heist episode, I mean, like the Andor heist part was incredible. Like that was like a highlight of that show. So like, I can see them like going, okay, Thrawn's going to pull off this heist. It's going to be awesome. So I'm really looking forward to that. I got to bring up though, man, I got to bring this up because we talked about it last week. I was very excited for this possibility. And when I saw Neil in the tub thinking about his girl, I knew there was an additional foreshadowing that he would be thinking about this turbo laser. He fired the fucking turbo laser. I was so pumped. Like when he went down off the speeder and he was like, "You guys go ahead and I'll give you cover." I mean, I turned to Chorizy. I was like, he's going to fire the fucking cannon. It's happening. It's happening right now. He's in this. I didn't realize they're in a school. Now I realize they're in the school. The cannon is happening. Neil's going to do it. And he did it. That was one of those things where it's like, you kind of, I don't think I was the only one thinking that. I think a lot of people were like, that cannon's coming back. Perfectly paid off because it wasn't like the most important part of the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like he destroyed their ship, right? Like he almost got his ass blown up, but he fired that cannon and it was important. I loved it. So yeah, I don't know. What'd you think about the kind of all the little breakup of the kids into their own special, like kind of piece where they excel? Like they each got to do that in the show. What'd you think about that part of it?
I think that's excellent writing. It kind of mimics, because in our generation, video games, where you have these four characters, but they all have their quest and they all have to work together to accomplish the final fate. And I really enjoyed that a lot. I even came around liking what Wim did. I know. Unfortunately, he did not stab himself when he fired up the lightsaber again. This time he was pointing in the correct direction. But the KB, that made a lot of sense to use the ship that they knew that they could get through the barrier to send out the communication. I thought it was still going to be the beacon. And we talked about that last week, that somebody would get that message. Ended up being wrong. nice that Kim, the owl, was on the standby to receive a quick communication and to call the New Republic. And that was a nice little hint as well. Like when KB said, "Can you call the Republic?" And Kim's like, "I don't know about the Republic, but I'll call the New Republic." Again, differentiate as far as time, because like these poor kids, like I know that they went to school and everything, and they were learning history based on what the supervisor wanted to inform them, but there's a huge historical gap that everybody on this planet needs to catch up on what exactly happened. And I think that'd be kind of fun if we do get to see these characters again in another show of them just trying to catch up, much like Captain America during Marvel. He had his little notebook on things that he needed to watch or read. Be the same thing for the kids as well. They're gonna have to learn about who the heck Darth Vader was. So that would be fun. But I like KB's quest. I know you like Neil's little quest to fire the cannon. And everything there, it was a lot of intense action in that supervisor room. And I think I have to applaud Jude Law. This must have not been, it's an easy sell. Hey, Jude, you want to be in Star Wars? Absolutely. You're going to be acting next to a bunch of kids. Okay, hold on. This
threatening them.
Serious. Yeah, threatening them, threatening their parents. But I thought in the end, like Jude carried those scenes amazing in the supervisor room. And this show far exceeded my expectations, and even the season finale exceeded my expectations, Chorizy. I loved every part of it.
Yeah, I would, you're talking about Jude Law, and I think the interesting thing there was, and I talked about this previously, and then we touched on it last week too, is like we didn't really want him to have a turn to good, right? Like we wanted him to stay the villain, but I think like they pulled it off well, where his turn to good was just that he couldn't actually execute any of the people in that room. Like if he did, it shuts kind of all of it down, and none of it, like the New Republic doesn't get in, all that stuff doesn't happen. But there was just enough good in him that he's like, I can't cut this kid's head off. I can't kill their,
can't hurt innocent
dad.
People.
Yeah. And like you see it a few times in there, where he almost seems conflicted with what he's doing at that point, but knowing that he still wants to control this whole thing. Like he's still a bad guy. And Wendell, incredible in this episode. I mean, like this level 7 system supervisor line is excellent, right? But then on top of it, I think this is all 80s nostalgia. This whole show is like filled with 80s nostalgia. The McFly like making the fist while he's sitting there, like straight out of Back to the Future, where now he's gotten all the courage up, and he's gonna punch the bully, and he's gonna and it's because like someone he loves is getting affected by this, so he's gonna take it into his own hand.
What a great remember point there by you, Chorizy, because I hadn't thought of it until you mentioned, like when you say the 80s nostalgia, the whole hover bike scene, E.T., right? That's what I was thinking when watching
the E.T. piece of that. Like, I mean, just like, I mean, a touch of rad. Let's just admit it, but that part I really liked, because like I think throughout the show, you kind of look at Wendell as like the problem, right? Like this is just someone who gave in to the system, right? And even when they're sitting at dinner with the damn droid like staring them down, ready to kill them at any moment, he's like, the supervisor takes care of all that. Don't worry about that. You don't have to worry about that. And his son is realizing, no, we gotta worry. We can't just rely on this. And you see that snap into his dad when his son was put into danger. And I thought again, like a lot of these things were just really great writing. I do want to ask you about one part in that scene in the supervisor's whatever little laboratory up there. Jude Law tells his backstory. So the Jod backstory. what'd you think of it? Because I have a very specific thought on it, and I want to get
Mhm.
your thoughts on the backstory.
I think it's plausible. I think it's believable. It's not that big of a deal. Like, I'm not this amazing past Jedi. I was found by another Jedi who sensed my Force abilities, who said that I had great potential. I did not get a lot of training. I know I can make things float. I can wield a lightsaber to fight droids. I don't know if he can actually fight anybody else with it. But he knows the minimal skills to be a Jedi. And before he could progress, then Order 66 happens, and he watches his master get cut down, and they force him to watch the master get cut down. So I think he did not get enough training to completely buy into the religion and a lot of the mythical ethos of being a Jedi. I like it because it's not like some Jedi that lost his course after Order 66. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
So yeah, I like that. If true, I do like that, right? Like it's either, it was right around Order 66 or it's after Order 66 and the person's already being hunted and they're just training them out of the goodness of their heart, or it's total bullshit. And the thing that made me think that is, like, in a lot of the show, when he's telling his lies, or even Wim, when he's making up the story at the end, there's always one additional unnecessary detail that's given that makes the story obvious bullshit, right? Like the emissary thing probably could have worked if he didn't have to go and add that, oh, I'm a Jedi. That broke his story, right? Wim's little story about, like, I found this thing and that's how I could get the message off world, and now the Jedi army's coming. Well, we know there's not a Jedi army. Jod knows that because he's been outside the barrier. So he doesn't like those types of things. So there's these little, like, kind of one extra note that messes it up. And they made me watch while they killed her. We know a lot more about Inquisitors than Jod knows because we watch all these shows. He was just a kid during that time. They would have killed him. You couldn't go back and go, hey, we found a Force sensitive kid and we made him watch us kill this guy. There's no way he's going to come back and be a problem, right? Like, so, like, they could never have done that as Inquisitors. So I think it's like just the extra piece of the story that makes it improbable, and like that is cascaded throughout the show. So it's maybe me just kind of hanging on to the idea that he's a Sith, but I heard the story and I was like, my bullshit detector went off on the story a little bit.
Okay. If he's a Sith, he's the worst Sith that we've come across.
Yeah, he's a pretty weak one.
Sith would be a great for a pirate.
Like he would have just killed everybody. Like if he was a solid Sith, he would have just went Anakin in that room at the end, and they would have been like, hey, Master Skywalker, what are we gonna do? Everyone's heads chopped off. Anakin knew how to do it. I guess Jod did
force choke, yeah.
Oh man, if he was just force choking the parents.
Yeah. Jerry makes a good point in the comments section that Jod would have been brought in to be an Inquisitor if he watched his master die. That's a good point by Jerry. And that's where I think I agreed with that part of your analysis, Chorizy. He could have been brought in, but then what would have happened? Like, how did you escape the Inquisitors? I guess it leads that if they did want to bring back Jude Law into Star Wars lore, if they wanted to continue, because we really don't know what happened to Jod at the end of this episode. A little bit of a cliffhanger there. If they want to continue bringing him back and want to further explore the backstory, they could. But yeah, I'm okay with it. If this is it, this is all the explanation that we get, I'm fine with it, because it suggests that he's not this great Jedi that lost their way, which I think that was the assumption at the beginning.
he's not special. The Jedi that trained him is not special, right? Like I mean, like I could see. I've already seen the internet like filling up with like, well, who was a female Jedi at that time that could have been? And it's like it's not supposed to be anyone. It's not supposed to be important.
Yeah.
It's just like some people come up from nothing, and this is like you got to give it to him a little bit that he elevated himself to the level that he did, right? Bad guy or not, I mean, like Star Wars is made with great bad guys, so like that's why this show really worked. He was a good bad guy. So at the end of the show, the X-wings come in. What did you think about the ending? Like just the fight scenes, how it all culminates, and then like the close of the series.
I thought all the action scenes were awesome. The chase scene was awesome. The special effects were terrific, especially logistically, like how the pirates are going on the ground to scoop everybody up. It is truly an invasion. I mean, Jod said, get ready for the invasion, and they were invading like pirates or even Vikings of old. And then here come the X-Wings. And did we figure it out? Were they B-Wings or
those were B-Wings? So those
B-Wings.
are B-Wings. Yeah, I double checked after we talked about it at lunch, and I was pretty sure it was B-Wings. I double checked it when I got home. It is B-Wings, and it is the ones that they flew in Rebels. So I don't think that they were implying that Hera was in one of those, but those are one of the things that Hera flew in the Rebels series.
And it's cool to see in which this show in particular, and this kind of feeds into Boba Fett if they want to continue that storyline, is at this time for the New Republic, they think they have snuffed out the Empire. So what did they do at their time? They snuff out pirates, and pirates are a much larger story in the New Republic than was originally thought. Yeah, it's a peaceful time. Everyone's getting along, and here comes the First Order. No, that there is some conflict. They're having to deal with some pirates, and it's pretty cool in how the X-Wings attack the frigate. And it was great. You had a chase scene, you got X-Wings fighting. Like, what more could you ask for in a final episode of a Star Wars show?
I like the point that you just made about like that they're filling this kind of gap with pirates. And I think like one of the things I really liked about the High Republic books that I've read is they were really testing out, can we do something where it's non-force sensitive people that are still getting to the Jedi, right? That could still mess with them, that can still defeat them. And the Nile in that they're basically pirates, right? Like they're a little more steampunk than than the normal pirates, but like it's a pirate group, right? And so I think they did that test and said, yeah, that works. This could work. And seeing that come into these shows, and especially in an era where there's not really many Jedi, where there's not really many powerful beings to go against pirates. It's the exact time that like they would come into that kind of power vacuum. So I really like the pirates. However, Josh, we got to get Hondo, man. Like, how are we getting all these pirates? We're not getting Hondo and Akka. Like, I think we're gonna be like every show that they come out with now. We're just like our bold prediction is gonna be Hondo and Akka is gonna be in the series,
right? Will Hondo be in season 2 of Ahsoka? Would Hera and Ezra, of course, Ezra's got a great relationship with Hondo. Do they reach out to Hondo to see if he can find some mysterious artifact that can help open up a hyperspace lane?
If there were ever a time to do it, other than Skeleton Crew, which we had a bunch of pirates, it would have been a beautiful moment. And there are some people that have said that Hondo's ship was in that kind of shipyard when in the first place they go. But in Ahsoka, yeah, they're apparently gonna have flashbacks in that because and I'm blanking on her name. The young lady that played young Ahsoka in the flashback scenes is signed on for
Irina Greenblatt
season 2. Yes. She signed on for season 2, and there's rumors of Ewan McGregor being in season 2. So if there's Obi-Wan scenes he had a relationship with Hondo. You can have a young and old Hondo in the show. Give him a little bit of a backstory for people who don't know who he is. It could work. It could work. That's all I'm saying, is that it could work. Speaking of very famous characters, a ship comes in at the very end of this series.
Yes.
And it looks like the Tantive 4, which is Princess Leia's ship. It's slightly different. I think it's blue and instead of red. A lot of speculation on the internet. I don't know, Josh, do you feel like it was Princess Leia, or do you feel like maybe it was just showing that there's a New Republic convoy coming there to be like, join the New Republic?
I'm going to say it's the latter. It's a convoy. I don't know how many casual Star Wars fans would have connected the dots if you did color it correctly to suggest that that is Princess Leia, which at this time would be, I assume, General Leia, visiting at
Senator, I think. Senator Organa.
Is she Senator at this time?
I think
well,
so.
What is she at Force Awakens? I guess, how does she go from Senator to General?
So in the books, she I think she's like running for whatever the chancellor thing is, and then it comes out that she's Vader's daughter. And then there's like some attempts on her life and stuff, and then she starts to sniff out that there's like the First Order beginning, and she moves from being part of the Senate to being part of this whole resistance that's outside of the government and everything. So that's how she becomes General Organa of the resistance. So like, I think she's a senator at this point, so it would make sense that she'd be recruiting new planets, but at the same time, like, probably not. I would guess it's probably not her, but like, I did like, though, that they're saying like that quickly they're trying to get in there and establish something with them, because I think there's some big stuff for the kids in this show. And Josh, I don't know, what are your thoughts about, should this be the end of this series? Should we do a season 2 with a time jump, or should these kids get into something different in the Star Wars realm?
So what I vote for is this could just be the end. It could just be the end. This is a well-made show. I think it ends well. Wim now has aspirations. He always wanted to get off at Aden, and now he doesn't have to take the assessment. Great news, but you can learn how to be a New Republic fighter pilot. And maybe you could recast the character Wim, and they're part of the upcoming Rangers show that they will have on Disney Plus. Your boy Neil, obviously, he's going to be a future admiral, replacing Admiral Akbar. I mean, that'd be kind of fun. But I don't need more from these characters. I thought everything was wrapped up so well in the show. I don't need season 2. I don't need to see a continuance of these characters. This was a well-written story, wrapped up neatly, and I don't think we need a continuation.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that this, like, a season 2, to me, it would be more worrisome than anything. I think you knocked out a tremendous show. I think it was really, really well done. I think I agree. Like, the Wim looking up at the X-Wings was definitely foreshadowing for his character, even if it's not in the shows, but like a continuation of him in the comics or something, where he's going to become a pilot. Like, we were talking about this at lunch a little bit with, like, okay, the Rangers of the New Republic was going to be Cara Dune. That obviously fell apart. But now, you know, could you redo this and almost have something where like Fern is already there, right? Let's and higher ranking than Wim, and now we've got that situation to build off of. Obviously Neil's not going to get into that. Like, he's going to have 14 kids the next time we see him, because that once that confidence got up, once he shot that laser off, man, the confidence is through the roof. I mean, at least 14 kids, at least. So like, I hit that both trunks swinging. He's going to be out there. And then And then I would assume KB will be there in some regard as like a tech or something, like it'd be good. But like that, I do like that idea. I like that the foreshadowing of the X-Wings, and that like I think like these kids got a taste for being off that planet, and like they're gonna be off that planet. So I think it would be cool to just kind of weave them in for little parts, or if you do the Rangers of the New Republic, then make them a focal point of it, Now,
Yeah, because I mean, who else are you going to go with?
yeah, I mean, the Carson Teva character is great, right? But is that enough, or is that a better side character in the Mandalorian, right? Like you're definitely not making Filoni a main character. You can use Zeb, but like all of these are side characters, right? You need stars for this show, and I think you produced them in this. So like either they're never going to do Rangers of the New Republic, or I think these kids are going to be in Rangers of the New Republic, which would be a lot of fun. I think that'd be a good way to keep these characters alive. Doing a season 2, I don't know. I don't know that there's enough there. The planet, we know everything we know about the planet now. We don't really need to know more. So Josh, I think that's kind of it for the show. I'm like, I went into this going, I hope this is at least good. And I think I was pretty blown away. I think you were too.
Yeah, again, there are 2 shows that I did not have high expectations, and really I questioned when Star Wars announced all these shows, like what is the point of them? And it was Andor and Skeleton Crew. And these shows far exceeded expectations and were absolutely terrific. So well done for everyone. This was a nice palate cleanser after The Acolyte, which parts of it are aging well. A lot of it is not. And I think even though it'd be cool because it does suggest, Darth Plagueis, briefly seeing him. It'd be cool to see more of the ancient Sith in future Star Wars content. And I think that there's certainly an appetite for it, but not in the format that The Acolyte was. And then it gets followed with the Skeleton Crew. And it's like, all right, let's see what this show's about. It's about kids. And it's a Goonies ripoff or a Goonies remake. And sure, it is. But it was well executed. It was well acted. It was a lot of fun to watch these episodes. So well done, everyone. This was awesome.
Well, just a fun ride. I enjoyed it a lot of nostalgia. As I mentioned, it is a nice palate cleanser. But in a different way for me, Josh, it is like getting a nice, fun, exciting ride before you go into the heart-wrenching, sweaty palmed Andor season 2, which we all know how it ends. Like we are watching a show in Andor that we know how it ends, and it is horrible. So it's gonna be a more of an emotional journey for the next one. So I agree with Jerry. More John Watts. Like he did a tremendous job.
Do you give John Watts a Star Wars movie? I mean, he's been very successful, obviously, over in Marvel with the Spider-Man movies. Do you give him a Star Wars movie?
I think you could, but like, I think they should just stop giving movies out that never come out. So like, until they release, maybe 2-3 movies, just stop saying you gave someone a movie. Like I'm still hearing that Taika Waititi's writing a Star Wars movie, and like it's been 5 years. So I don't know. I'm not.
That one's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We did get a question from Brian Harrison. Nothing on the Hound replacing Ray Stevenson. So that's a little bit of Ahsoka season 2. We were talking about it, texting back and forth. I think we're going to wait for that conversation when we get a better understanding of when Ahsoka season 2 is going to happen. Like there's a lot of speculation. And the thing with Disney is it's great that the Ahsoka team has a plan to replace Ray Stevenson, who is terrific in that role and unfortunately passed away. So that's why they have to pivot. But with Bob Iger, it takes one bad fiscal year for Disney for him to suddenly change his mind and what's coming. So let's get through Andor season 2. Let's get through Mandalorian and Grogu movie and figure out what Disney wants to do as far as after the Mandalorian Grogu movie and timing on the next shows. But I am excited. I think it's a good casting choice. They definitely got the height right.
Yeah, I mean,
and everybody loves the Hound character from Game of Thrones.
That's part of it too, is just that like it's a stature thing. More so than it is like the face obviously won't be perfect. And I'm sure they're going like the hair is pretty easy to accomplish, gray beard, like they're around the same age, like the stature is similar. Like I think they'll be able to pull off all that. Like it won't look weird, right? But I think it's important that we know that this guy can play a similar character, and that he, you know, he's also obviously in Game of Thrones. Basically, it's the sword fighting versus the lightsaber fighting. Like you know that he can do it. So like I think it's a more than reasonable choice. But to Josh's point, we might not see that for 3 years, so 4 years. Who knows? So we'll see. But good question. I appreciate it. It is something I wanted to touch on. Okay, I think that's probably it for this season. We'll be back for Andor. And if you want to see me in the meantime, on January 25th at Reggie's, 8 p.m. we'll be live. This is the Sox Fest after party from the 108 live. We're gonna have White Sox Dave, Herb Lawrence, Scott Merkin up with us. It's gonna be a lot of fun. QR code up in the corner if you want to get tickets. But yeah, looking forward to that, and it'll be a huge off-season party, which we all deserve after watching a team lose 121 games this past season. So until then, we'll be doing our normal Sox stuff. Josh over at soxmachine.com and me at from the108.com. And then until then, talk to you soon.